Oh, now what? Hey, thanks for dropping by Can't Let Her Die DIY. If you found this channel, found this video, you must have an F150 3.5 liter Ecoboost 2013. That's what this is. I got 164,000 kilometers on it. I bought this 4 years ago and I've been hauling trailers with it ever since. It's been a great truck, but a huge problem right now. Huge. I was backing up a trailer in the yard and all of a sudden I could smell burning like hot oil, and I get out and it's just oil going everywhere. Dark, brown oil. I said, oh my gosh. I thought it was engine oil. Turns out it is transmission fluid, transmission oil. It should be ruby red like the color of this truck. It's not. It is dark, it's brown. Doesn't smell burnt, so that's good, but it is all over the place. I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this could be terrible. Anyway, we gotta find out what's going on, and it ends up being the transmission line. So it's my best case scenario, so that's good for me, and this video is going to be good for you. These trucks have a tendency to break in certain spots. I'm going to show that to you. I'm going to replace all the lines underneath there, not just one. I talk about either different options of fixing this and why I choose the one that I do. You want to see the tools you're going to use? If you decide to do this, and you can do this, you got it. For sure. Let's check it out. I got the tools laid out right here. Okay, this is a torque wrench for torquing down the specs. This is a 3/8 ratcheting drive, and it has an 8mm socket and a 10mm socket. That's just an extender. Now there are some problematic bolts, hard to get at. You can't get it with this, so I use just box wrenches, 8mm and 10. And I love these ratcheting stubby wrenches. They help me out as well. One of the bolts that I pulled off there had thread locker, the blue thread locker, so I replaced that. So you may need some thread locker as well. A light, safety goggles because you're underneath the truck and there's rust falling in your eyes all the time. We discuss the transmission fluid. I will be changing the transmission fluid, and that'll be a separate video. That is the one I fall on, the Mercon LV. 3 lines, 3 parts that I put on there. There's the part numbers. The part numbers have changed, so the tag that's on your old lines, that part number is not the same. It has changed. So these are the 3 part numbers there. Needle nose pliers, vice grips. This here, I do make a mistake in the video, and I try not to hide my mistakes. I make mistakes. You guys will make mistakes. If you watch this video, maybe you won't make a lot less mistakes. So you see the mistake that I make, and it costs me. So check that out. Don't want to kill the suspense. You can use this. It's a little faster. Some fluids. We have WD-40. We have PB blasters. You can tell I run into some rusty bolts, and when I'm in there, I always like to undercoat. When I got some of the dust shields off and the skid plate off, I get in there and spray with dielectric grease spray. It's a fine coating. You can put on everything in there. It's really good. So I like to do that. You don't have to, of course. And I even get out check this out. You know we're in big trouble when I get that out. Some bolts that do not come off, and I battle with them with that propane torch. My father's screwdriver always shows up in my videos. Now we come to these parts. I purchased this for removing the disconnect lines on the Ford. It says for fuel and air conditioning lines on Ford and Chrysler, for fuel lines on GM, for radiator and transmission lines on Ford. Well, these do not work on transmission lines for Ford. They are not the right shape. They do not work. Do not buy that. What does work is this. By Lyle, there's the part number. It says transmission oil cooler line disconnect for Ford. That's what works. You get two different sizes. This is the one. You need that shape. These ones do not have that shape. See? So maybe they're good for older models, but for the 2013 and newer, you need this. And it's kind of chintzy. It's not very strong, but that's the best part out there that I can find. So there's the parts you need, and let's get going. So we're going to get under that truck. We're going to rip off some lines. We're going to replace lines. The bolts are going to have a lot of fight to them. It's going to be tough, but you got it. You got this. It's not that tough, really. You got this, and I'm going to help you. Let's do it. Go throw on your old clothes. I'll throw on my old clothes because it is dirty under there. We'll jack that thing up and get going on this. Good time. Days are burning. Let's go.
Hey, you've caught me laying down on the job, I guess. But anyway, what I've done so far is jacked up the truck. If you come over here, you can see there's my axle stands, my jack stands right there. There's the position you put those. There's a little arrow in the frame. It shows you where to put those stands. Behind that is my jack. I got that as just a secondary, and I got a jack stand over on the other side as well. So, just to get you caught up, because I couldn't wait for you. I'm so excited to get this thing done. Check this out. But I got quite a mess in here. I got oil everywhere. It was quite a leak. It's a transmission cooler leak line. So the lines going to the transmission cooler is busted. So I just want to show you. Right here you got this splash cover, right? And these, I've kind of pre-done this for you. You get a screwdriver there, flat slotted screwdriver, and you pry down on these push pins. It just holds this splash guard in. So you can do that. It's easy to do. Right? I just stuck them in there for the video. So you get a screwdriver in there, pry those out, and now you can see up in here, and I'll show you. These are the lines, transmission cooler lines. So transmission fluid flows in here and it goes to a radiator in the front that cools the transmission fluid, right? Now, I had oil all over here, and when I got in here I was trying to find the leak, and I just touched that line and it completely broke off. So it was already broken. I just couldn't see where the tear, I was looking for a tear in the hose, and it's not. It's in the steel part of that hose right up in there. So that's a quick connection, an easy connection there. And it is rusted out right there. Incredible, eh? So a little bit of research, I see that this does have a tendency to happen. So what I would like to do is replace both these lines, because if it's rusted out there, this one's sure to follow. I don't want to do this again. I'm going to order both these lines and get them replaced. First thing I'm going to do, take this skid plate off. There's 4 bolts, one right there, one right here, and 2 in the back. Take that off so that I can see this line, how it goes all the way back to the transmission. So that's the first thing we're going to do. Yeah, let's get going. Okay, Patrick, get out of the way. All right. The skid plate, 1/2 inch bolts on here. So if you get this on, let's start with this one way over here. Let's get the skid plate out of our way so we can see the lines. These little wrenches are great. These ratcheting wrenches. Last one, folks. Ugh. Ugh. Grab that, will you, Patrick? Stop. There's no food there. Look out. Look out. He's not much of a help. So I was able to get this clip off. It goes just like that. It holds the two hoses together, the two lines. And it just holds one line here, holds the other line there. Just remember that this pointy part is on the top and this wider part is on the bottom. So it goes, installs like that. And it just snaps off. So I'm going to do it to the next one. There. It's coming off. So that's that. Okay, so this is the quick connection point right here for the transmission fluid cooler line. This line goes all the way to the transmission, so there's this one, and they connect to the lines that go up here to the cooler, the transmission coolant radiator, so the transmission cooler. Now this should have a steel piece that comes down about an inch and a half right there, and it goes into this quick connect fitting, see? And it's sheared off right there. So it's stuck in this connector. Now that's going to be a heck of a hard thing to get out. And so there's a few different options you can do here. Go back here, cut this line at where it becomes steel. Cut the steel portion of it. Cut this line here, right here, where it's steel. Remove this rubber hose, and connect a new rubber hose with a clamp from here all the way up to here. Clamp it with hose clamps. That's a quick fix. That might be an option for somebody who maybe you're not going to keep the truck, or the truck's not going to last much longer. But what I find, if you look here, you see how rusted that is? I get a feeling this is going to happen. The same thing's going to happen on this line as it did on this. I didn't hit anything or anything. It just rusted off. So I think the better idea, if you're going to keep your truck, is to replace these two lines. At least these two lines. And I'm going to replace all four lines. So these two that run back to the transmission, and these two lines that run up to the trans cooler. So that's what I'm going to do. It's a financial decision for some of you. Everyone will have their different style. So, but I don't really want to do this again. So I'm going to replace all these four lines, transmission cooler lines, and then hopefully I don't ever have to get back in here and do this. So that's my decision. You guys will have to make yours. But and then I don't have to try to wrestle with trying to get that out. And a lot of guys are having trouble getting this off too. So anyway, I'm going to replace all the parts. The other reason, if I only do a quick fix on this line, and then this one starts to leak, ruptures, if it's only a slow leak, you're not going to see it, because the leak's going to come down here and it's going to hit your skid plate, and it's going to collect on your skid plate, and you got a splash shield here too. So you're not going to see, that's the problem, you're not going to see these leaks. If it fails, if I put that hose from clamp there, clamp it here, and I get, after a year, I get a cracked hose or whatever, and because of the heat down here, then if that starts leaking, I'm not going to see it. So if it leaks and you don't see it, or it ruptures violently when you're towing, anything like that. So I don't really think a quick fix is what you want to do here, but that's just my opinion. You guys will have to decide that for yourself. But you wouldn't want to be towing somewheres late at night or in the winter, and this thing ruptures on you 300 kilometers away from home and that sort of stuff. So and you don't want to get low on transmission fluid because this has been leaking for quite a while and you do not see it, and you burn your transmission fluid, you overheat your transmission, and you end up having to replace the transmission. So I don't want those situations to happen. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Those are all the reasons why I'm going to replace all these lines, and you can watch me and make a decision for yourself whether you need to do the same thing. All right? Cool. Let's go. Up top. See you there. Okay, so we're obviously going to need some parts the way I'm going to repair this. I'm going to change all the lines out. So I've always been pretty lucky when it comes to getting parts, especially during COVID-19. Getting parts may be a challenge, but I've always been pretty lucky up here in Canada to get parts. So what I want are the Ford original parts. That's what I want. I want 4 lines. And I don't know how you guys get parts, but I often do this. I've learned over the years, the easiest way to get parts for me is to do something like this. And if you do it just right, okay, wow, still works. That's good. What do we got here? We've got Ford original parts. So that's one of the front lines that goes to the cooler, the trans cooler. There's another one on the front, and this big one goes all the way back to the transmission. So on this end, that attaches to the transmission, and there's those 2 parts underneath that I showed you earlier, or one of these. You can see that it would be this part right here is the part that's broken off, and it still remains inside of that, like that. So that was easy. Let's see if these are the right ones. So if you pop the hood of your engine, you'll see here's the radiator in the front, just behind the grill, and here is the trans cooler. It's a little mini radiator that goes all along the width of the radiator, and those 2 hoses, they connect to, one connects to this trans cooler and the other one connects to the radiator. So if you see, here's one of them, right? You saw the 2 underneath. One of them comes up, it goes right there. So here's our new part, and it's hard to position it exactly, but you can see that looks like that is the proper part. That will fit in there. I just can't orientate it right now. So that looks like the right one, right? Connects underneath right there. It's got a bracket. And the other part that came from Ford runs along the bottom of the radiator like this, comes around here, and then it comes underneath here, up, and if you move this little, I took a push pin out, push pin was right there, so this is a little splash guard. Push that out of the way. You can see that this comes up, this goes right in there, sort of like that. So it comes up, goes around, and goes into the radiator right here. Comes up, goes into the radiator like that. So that looks like that's the proper part as well. So it should be, because I got it from Ford. So that looks good. Looks like this will work, but we gotta get her done. Can't fool around here, and that's enough yapping. Let's do it. Okay, here's the transmission pan. Now I did take this pan off, drain the transmission fluid, change the filter, put new filter back, and put this pan back on. I've got 4 bolts. There's one of them, just holding that pan on. So I know there's not going to be any fluid coming out when I remove these lines. We got to get this line off right here on this side, the driver's side of the transmission, and it's this bolt right here holding it on. It's a 10mm bolt. I'm going to remove that right now, pull these lines off, because we're replacing these transmission coolant lines. So it goes this way. 10mm, folks, and it should. It's a little bit corroded. It is 7 years old. Looks like there's some blue thread locker on there. It is still tough to get off. Quite a bit of force. It's not getting much easier. So we'll note that, thread locker on there. We do have some blue stuff. We can put it right back on. And it should just pull out, folks. There, okay, that loosened up. It's still tight on the wire, but that is out. So we are good. So once you get that bolt out, then this just pulls out. There's a clip, take that off. Now some people are having this rust out at the third turn. So 1, 2, and 3. So up there, this line rusts out at the third curve. So that's why I'm replacing this line, even though on mine it is not rusted out yet. But I feel that I want to replace all the lines and to avoid this transmission leak in the future. So I remove the bolt here where it goes into the transmission. If you follow that line up around this first turn, there's another clamp hanger right here, and then a third hanger further on over there holding these things also right here. Hopefully it's a 10 millimeter, and it is, to get this line up. There. And this one seems to be going a little more easier, so maybe a good one for this ratcheting stubby wrench. Nice. Can you see that? And moving right along, folks. Well, you can turn the screen down so you can see the screen. And the third clamp is right there. I don't know if we can get it on camera. It is really in a hard spot. This is a third clamp that's holding that line on. I'm going to switch to my ratcheting stubby wrench here soon. Yeah, there, you can see it right there. That's it. Okay, I'm going to get my ratcheting set on there now that I've broke it loose. So if you come in through here, right underneath through the front of the truck, underneath the radiator, you can find the third clamp holding that line on. So there's the axle. I got my arm wrapped around the front axle here. So if you follow my arm up, you'll see the lines, and this bolt is coming off now. You can see my stubby wrench. Got my stubby wrenches, 10 millimeter on there, and it's loosening up. I think I can finger loosen it. So it's really in a tough spot. Yeah, it's coming off. It's really in a tough spot. But we got it. We got it here. Can't let her die DIY. There it is. That line should come off now. Okay, we got that off. The next clamp holding these lines is while I'm here, I'm gonna get this one right here off. I'll give it a shot of PB Blaster, and should be a 10mm. We'll get that off. So underneath the main radiator, this line goes along here. Right. So this clamp right here, I said it was a 10. It's not. It's an 8, and it is very crusty. And I got PB Blaster on it. I'm hoping it comes off, but it may be seized on, which it does not look good. I may have to use my bolt extractors for rounded off bolts again, because this is not coming. And you can heat it up, you can give it a tap, sometimes that jars it, so that's what I'll try first. I'll give it a tap. Okay, we got a stubborn bolt here. It's 8mm, it will not come off. I tapped, hit it with the PB Blaster, no effect. I tapped it with a hammer and it still won't loosen up. It is seized. So now I'm going to hit it with the heat, and the expansion of the bolt quicker than the hole that it's screwed into, and then the shock of that PB Blaster sometimes will loosen it up. Got it. The heat did the trick. It's pretty hot. Okay, that's good. That was the bugger. We got him. This is a transmission oil cooler line disconnect tool, and this is the one we need right here, 1/2 inch. So this is the one that works on this. This is the only one that works that I know of. There's the part number. It's from Lyle. So this goes around like this, and that is supposed to go into there. Sort of like that. It's supposed to snap in and disconnect. And just like I suspected, it's not working as easy as it should, because it's all corroded. So that there's an inner clip inside of here that's holding that on, and this tool is supposed to, you're supposed to jam that tool in on that quick disconnect connection, and it's supposed to come off. But mine is quite corroded, which I suspect is a problem here. But we don't need these lines. I have the replacement lines. So plan B, if it's giving you a lot of trouble, I can cut it right here. Cut this hose part and then pull that way and take this one up there, because I got new hoses, all new hoses. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to play around with that any longer than that. I suspect if you clean that out and really flush it a lot, you get all the debris out of there, then this may work. But I'm going to cut it right here. Easier. Okay. I got all the clamps out. I can pull that out. And now, well, watch yourself. We get some fluid. Now this whole line can come out, folks. Go up the other end and feed it down through. Nice. Okay, I cut the hose up top. I should be able to thread this baby back and get this off. Tight fit. rotate it a little bit maybe. Like that. Okay, we got a bracket here. That could be the problem. The bracket's getting caught on that axle there. There. Got the bracket through. And now she's coming a lot easier. Take the bracket again. And voila. We got it off. There it is. There's where I cut it. But we're good. Okay, this other transmission cooler line comes up here and goes into the radiator right there. So we have it loose. You can see it's loose underneath. We already accomplished that. We got a little clamp in here that you squeeze together. One of those clamps, those hose clamps like that, and then this should just pull out. Clamp is easy to get up. We'll put that over there. We'll take a look. Yeah, it looks like it will separate right there. That's where that clamp was. That should pull straight off. Let's get some WD-40 in there. A little lubrication. Coming slowly. And you don't want to rock your knuckles again. There's a lot of force on there. There she goes. There she goes. Wow. Took a lot of force on there, folks. I was probably pulling 60, 70 pounds. Really on there. Okay, we got it. And now it should just thread out. I'll probably take that out through the bottom. Push it in there. Like that. And the other hose over here, we saved the easiest to last. Went at the hardest ones first. Same thing as the other one. Remove that clamp, hose clamp, and then it should just pull right down. Without breaking anything, I'm going to spray some WD-40 in there. Hopefully that lubricates it up a little bit. Makes it a little easier. And let's bring that thing right up. Like that. See if we can work that down. I get our screwdriver in there, pry that down a little bit. There she goes. Okay, this might be the easiest way. This seems to work. It seems to work the easiest. There, and that's the other line. We'll take that down through the bottom as well. Down there, buddy. See ya. Okay, I've laid out my new parts and next to the old parts just to make sure they're exactly the same before I get them half installed and have to realize, and I'm glad I did, because these parts look to be exactly the same. If you go down here, you got the clamps there. On the new one, it's there. You got these. There's the other clamp, right? And the third one is clamped right through there. We know that. But what I see on this one, we're good to go. So that is part number BL3Z7R081-D. So 7R081-D. And we're good to go. Now this one here, as you notice, this is the BL3Z-7B028-A. And this one, on the original one, has these push pins. This is a push pin clamp as well, and they're not present on the new part. So there's two of them right here, right here. So I will get a screwdriver, put it in there, snap those off, and put them on the new one. So that's no big deal. Other than that, they're exactly the same. And then the third one, the third hose or third line, BL3Z-7B028-C. So this is D, A, and C. Okay, we got a verdict coming down now. What is the failed part in this job here? It's the transmission line. It's the transmission line that goes all the way underneath the truck, right back to the transmission. The largest line, it's a double line. It comes up here, and these are quick attachments to the next line, this line that goes to the radiator, the trans cooler. And you can see it failed right there, right in here on the new part, on the thick part, right in the steel. It's this line that went underneath the truck. Now, if you look at this line, it is rusted there, and that's why I'm replacing that. That looks like that is about to fail as well, but it hasn't failed yet. It is this part that failed, the largest line, and other people on the internet are finding it fails at the third bend. 1, 2, 3, right here. They've had it fail there, and someone else had it fail right underneath these clamps. These clamps hold moisture, and it seems to be an area where they will rust. So this part here failed after 164,000 kilometers in Canada with salt and snow and ice. This is destined for the dump. Watch yourself. It's going into the incinerator. That's powerful. Okay, now we have this quick connection tool for disconnecting these lines. It's made for Ford. Transmission oil cooler line disconnect for Ford. So that's it. We're going to do a little judgment on this as well. Now here is the quick connect. You're supposed to insert it. If you listen, you hear a snap. So it removes an internal clamp that's in there, and then you can push the other connection in, right? And it does work very easily when everything's new. But when you need to replace this line, this is what it looks like, right? That's what the line looks like. And if you think that is working, I didn't try to. There's so much crud and rust in there. It is not a quick disconnect coupling. It's a quick connect coupling, but it's not quick on the disconnect. I mean, you're not getting that off. A lot of guys are having a lot of problems with it, and I can't even rotate it. It is seized on there. So I'm glad I didn't spend a lot of time trying to get that apart, and I just bought both the lines. So that's your call, of course. But this line, you can see this is so close to deteriorating and leaking itself underneath that clamp right there and all through here that better just replace this line as well. And now we're only halfway done. You got this, you do. Now we get to put this back on. Throw some saran wrap on the end so you don't get debris in there, and away we go. No one has more fun than me. Going in. Cover me. Okay, so I got this line all assembled. I got it attached by the clamps here. There's one bracket right there. I left that loose so that I can rotate this line and get it up here. And all I have to do now is attach it to the transmission. And it's that one bolt that goes up. So it's got safety caps on here to keep it clean. We can take those off now and rotate this line without touching anything to get it in there nice and clean like that. Push it in and hopefully it goes in like that. And that looks good. It's going to go in, and now I'll stay there a little bit on its own. Right, so we got that in. It fit in nice and snug. And now we have that one bolt that goes right here, holds that whole mechanism in. And that bolt, if you remember, it had blue color on it. So I believe that is thread locker right here. This is the bolt that goes on it. It's a weird shaped bolt. You can still see it has some blue on it. So I'm going to put some thread locker on that. Sticker right in here. And it's a 10mm bolt. And install that. That should hold that line in. Good to go. I love my ratcheting stubby wrenches. 10mm bolt going in. It has thread locker on it, blue, so that's the medium strength, and that will lock those lines right in place. Really push them in tight. You can push them all the way in, and the O-rings will hold it in place, and then this bolt just completes the job. Good to go. Now, this was on very tight. So I'm just going to get it as tight as I can. It's a strong bolt. Good and strong. Starting as tight as you can get it with this little mini stubby wrench. There, she's going in. Now you see this dielectric grease right here, that oil on there. I sprayed this line all the way down underneath all these clamps, and all. That's why it's all wet in here with this. This is dielectric spray, corrosion protection. I use this for undercoating, and it's really good for electrical and that sort of thing. You can really coat it down. It doesn't stick very well, like it's very fine, but if you get in here where it's covered by those dust covers and skid plates and stuff like that, so it's nice to get it sprayed so it won't rust as quick. And now I'm just tightening these clamps up. So there's a 10mm. I left it loose so I can manipulate this line into the transmission. Now she's tight, and I got another one up there to do. It's in a tight spot, but same way you got it off, you get it on there. Nice, eh? Brand new lines. I'm loving it. Oh, you love this? This is great. It's always exciting when you're putting it all back together and it actually fits. Okay, we're back at the front of the truck now. I'm underneath the front axle. If you look up here, you can see my new lines right here, the rubber hoses, the end of the new line. There's the failed part right there. I'm going to connect this one. These are the quick connects. So they just push up like that. I'll need two hands here. Get positioned. And push up. Until it snaps. So there. You can put about 40, 50 pounds of pressure on it. Now I want to leave this one off because I'm going to flush the transmission while I have this in this situation, and so the transmission fluid will pump up through here, go through the cooler, come back down this line into a bucket. I'll pump out the black, the dirty remaining transmission line, and I'll pump it till it goes red and clean, and I can see that it's clean fluid in there. Then I'll stop and connect this, and we'll be complete. So I'm going to do a transmission flush and refill. So that's the plan, folks. Good, I love these lines. I coated them down with dielectric grease. You can see it's all over there. I put it all over here to keep everything nice and prevent water and salt from getting in there as much as I can behind all these clamps, because that's where it seems to rust, right in there underneath these clamps. So it's all good. It's looking great. Hopefully it doesn't leak. So that's really on. I got to put the snap the clamps, the holder clips on there, the gray holder clips. Just kind of prevents them from jiggling or anything. Added support. We're good. It's looking great. Hope yours is too. Okay, we're at the time where we've got to fill that transmission up with transmission fluid. So what kind of fluid do you use? Well, if you check your manual, they want you to use Ford's automatic transmission fluid, the Mercon LV. You don't want to mess around with that. This transmission is built around this fluid. You better get the right fluid. So Mercon LV. Most guys are 6 or 7 quarts, 6 or 7 liters, but I lost a lot. I broke that line, right? So I got half of it ended up on my driveway before I could get it in. So I may need more than you. We'll find out. And I also want to flush out some of the bad stuff. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 liters here. It takes 12.4 liters in the transmission, but you don't get it all out, right? You only ever get out 6 liters out by dropping the pan. I'm thinking I lost probably another 4 liters, so I'm looking around 10. Anyway, I'll start with 10. If I need more, I'll go get it. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to get it into the transmission. Now you can use a funnel with a hose and get it that way, or you can get one of these little fluid pumps. You stick it in there. I just tested it out and it does work well. So you screw that on like that, and then this way you can pump it directly uphill into the transmission, and just by depressing that. So that's what we're going to do now. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. You got this. This is the fun part. Let's do it. Meet me under the truck. Okay, so now I crawled in the other side, and this is the transmission pan that I just showed you. So on the other side of the transmission pan, first thing we got to do, we locate the filler plug, and there's also a dipstick underneath that plug. There's a dipstick to measure how full your transmission is of fluid, how much fluid's in your transmission. So this is a 19 millimeter filler plug right there. So it's very close and tight in here, and there. This is a 19 millimeter wrench we got on it, and we got to loosen that up. So if you can't get this loose, you wouldn't want to drain your transmission first and then realize you can't get this plug off. It's seized on there. Then you have no way to fill up your transmission. You'd be really in big trouble. So we got to make sure this is loose before we do anything. That's why this is the first part of the job. Let's see if we can loosen this up. I don't know how much fight this is going to give me. I like a little fight. Sometimes it gets ridiculous. Oh man, this is on there. It's on there, folks. Ah, got it. Ow. Racked my knuckles. Have you done that before? If you haven't, it's not much fun. Right there. Smash my knuckle against that right there. So don't do that, folks. I make these mistakes so you don't have to. So it loosens, once it breaks free, it's finger loose. So that's kind of nice. If you can't get it with the wrench, you can always put a breaker bar on here. It'd be 19 millimeters, and you can get a breaker bar on there to free that up. But I got it with the wrench. I'm probably not any stronger than you, so you could probably get it as well. So we loosen this up, and let's see what's underneath here. I'll get my big hands out of the way. Pull that up. Look at that. There's the plug, 19 millimeters, right? And inside of that is a secret dipstick. Dip, dip. And it looks like we still have transmission fluid in it. Looks like it's right there, which is good because a ton of transmission fluid poured out onto my driveway when that line broke. I was backing up a trailer in the driveway here, so I was close to home when it broke, which is really good, really fortunate for me. But it does look low here because there is the hash mark right there. So it is low. It's down to here, which makes sense because I'm telling you, a ton poured out. So I'm reading it to be right about there. And here is the hash marks right here. And it should be in between those hash marks. There's the max. That would be the min. And my level is right there, which makes sense. I've probably lost about half of it. Okay, so that adds up. There's your dipstick, folks. Why they don't have a dipstick up in the engine compartment? Well, we'll talk about that. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So we'll put that back in. Keep that contaminant free. Just goes in like that. And try it again. Pull it out, check the level, and yes. And you see the color of mine? It's quite brown. Now this normally goes in red. It is now brown, and that's why I'm changing it. So we're putting that back in. We suppose it go like that. We're putting this plug back in just to keep it contaminant free. Ow. I didn't need that knuckle. You guys don't need it. What do we got? We got like 12 knuckles here, so you don't really need that one. But seriously, don't wrap it against this part here when you're cranking on that wrench. Okay, I relocated you underneath the transmission. There it is. There's a transmission pan. There's that filler plug that we were talking about earlier. If you unscrew that, we just had put it in there lightly just to keep the contaminants out of it while we worked on this. So unscrew this. This filler plug's how we're going to fill the transmission. It also has that dipstick underneath of it. Right there. Push that all the way down. That's the dipstick. See that? See service manual. There's a hash marks there and a line and then other hash marks. So I think you want it right in the middle, but it has to be at operating temperature. So you have to heat the transmission up. It should be warm transmission and end up right there. So we're not at that stage yet. We got no transmission fluid in there. We got our pump already ready to go. This goes up and in. Snap that down in there, and that kind of holds it in there for you. So that's good. I'm liking this. We'll turn this like that. And now we pump the fluid into the transmission. Let's see how she goes. And there it goes. Now, I'm going to need a lot of transmission fluid in here because I ruptured that line. I've replaced the lines here, so there's no fluid in these lines. There's no fluid in the the transmission cooler up at the front of the truck. So I'm going to need a lot in there. So I'm just going to fill this up until it starts coming out here, like overfill it, and then I'm going to start the truck up and it's going to pump it through these lines. Isn't that fun? That looks like the end of that. Get another one. Okay, I got a bucket located underneath the coolant lines. You can see up in there. Can you see? I have one connected and one left non-connected, and that's going to pump out the old transmission fluid that's in the system. That's brown, and I'm going to flush it, pump it out until it turns pink, the nice red color, so we get the new transmission fluid flowing through the system. We get rid of all that old stuff. Okay, turn it on. There it goes. There it's going. Okay, that's good and red. Okay, turn it off. Okay, that's good and red right from the start. So all that old stuff already has been flushed out. That's good and pink. That's coming out. That's the new stuff. And we're good to go. We got all that old transmission fluid out, and that's good. That's how you would flush it. You would just, for you guys, if you did not have a rupture of the transmission line, yours will be, you'll get about 4 liters, maybe 4 liters of the old black transmission fluid, but I had at least 4 liters on the driveway, so I'm already flushed out. Okay, good. It's all cycled through the system with good transmission fluid. Great. Okay, so we flushed the lines. The last thing to do is to connect this quick connect. You just push it up like that till it snaps. Give it a good tug. Make sure that both are on there, and they are. So that snaps up very easily, and it should because it's brand new. Both sides. Now we got these clips that go on and just give it an added security. Holds on to both ends, both connection points, and they just push on. Not like that. Well, I guess I'll be getting another clip. Let's try this again. Goes right there and right there. You put it on the right spot and it clips. I had it in the wrong spot. Darn it. Well, I make these mistakes so you don't have to. So make sure that's in the right spot there, and I'll get another clip for right here, and we're in business, and the job is done. And if we put the skid plate back in place like that, put the bolts up there, and okay, we're coming to the end of the video now. I have attached that clip that was broken off. That was a $9 mistake, but there's the new clip on there. And now I've attached the dust shields to the bottom of the truck. And lastly, don't forget to put the screen up, the dust shield, the splash guard, with these push pins and clips. So this transmission coolant line is installs pretty simply. It's pretty obvious. You just pull those together, that clamp, and slide that up, and then there's markings on this new hose where that clamp goes, just in between that mark and this mark. So that's kind of helpful. But over here, I just wanted to show you that this one, make sure when you feed this up from the bottom that it goes underneath this wire and not above it. At first I had it above there, and it's putting a lot of pressure, downward pressure on this wire. So make sure it goes underneath like I have it there, comes up like this, goes on there, and the same markings are in this hose where to place that clamp. So it's really good, and it's very easy. So I just did it. So very easy, and now we'll put the splash guard back on where it was, where we found it. Excellent. Okay, guess what? We're coming to the end. As much as I like doing these jobs, I love it when we come to this part where I get to close the hood. And so this is coming to the end of the video. I do, you may have noticed that halfway through the video, I also am changing the transmission fluid and filter. So I have another video on that if you want to take a look at that. Because of this transmission oil leak, it was dark and it was not ruby red. It should be ruby red like the color of this truck. It is not, so I decided to change the transmission fluid while I got some of those lines out of the way. So that's what I'm going to do next. But I really appreciate you guys tuning in, checking this out. Hopefully your transmission lines go as easily as mine, or if not better. And I hope this video helped you. And if it did help you, give me a thumbs up, send some comments. I'd love to hear it, love to hear that stuff. And if you do want to subscribe, I sure do want you to subscribe, so that would be nice too. So anyway, keep trucking, guys. You got this. You got this.